Hi everyone, welcome you all. In the today's video, we're going to see how we can automate different types of drop-downs. So normally when you're trying to automate any applications, you can see different type of drop-downs, like some drop-downs are having select tag, and some types of drop-downs you don't see any select tag, and we can call them as a bootstrap drop-downs. And sometimes we can see static drop-downs and dynamic drop-downs and auto-suggested drop-downs. So we can see various types of drop-downs. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how we can automate different types of drop-downs in Cypress. So first, let us start with a normal drop-down, which is having select tag, and then we will see rest of the drop-downs. So go to VS Code editor, and here I'm going to create new script file, and here I'm name it as dropdowns.cy.js. Just a second, we need to rename this. So dropdown.cy.js. Okay, so in this I'm going to create a new describe block. Okay, so this is optional, you can just remove one now. So describe, inside the describe I'm giving some description. Say handle drop downs, and I'm writing some arrow function, and this is our arrow function, and then let's try to implement this. So inside the describe block, let me write one it block, and it. So first type of drop down is with select tag. I can say drop down with select, drop down with select, and here also I'm writing one arrow function, and let us try to implement this. Okay, so this is our it block. So here we can say a description, drop down with select and comma, and this is arrow mark, and this is a function, and inside the function then arrow mark. So here it should be just a comma and bracket. Okay, so now inside this it block, we can write our automation script. So let me just try to write our automation script here, and here one bracket is extra, so let me remove this. Okay, so the first thing is, let us start launching our web page. So here I'm trying to open one application where we can see a drop down which is having a select tag. So johor.com. So you can just look at here. There is a drop down which contains all the countries, right? So if we inspect this element, this drop down element, if you try to inspect this drop down element, and you can see select tag is available. And if you expand the selected tag, there are multiple options tags are there. So all these options, whatever you can see here, these countries are available in the form of different options. Okay, so this is a normal traditional drop down box which we can handle through Cypress. So let us start writing the automation code for this. Let me capture this URL, then go back and try to launch our application first. So to launch our application, we need to use one more method called cy.visit, and again, if you want to get auto suggestions, what you can do is we can just write this statement / reference types equal to Cypress. So if you add this statement at the beginning, so you will automatically get auto suggestions. So here I'm launching the web page by saying cypress.visit, and here this is my application URL, and go to your VS Code editor, and now here I'm pasting out the URL. Okay, so once you launch this URL of application, then we need to get the drop down element. Okay, so if we just try to inspect this country drop down, inspect it, and this is a selected tag, and there is ID is available for this. So let's try to identify this by using ID. So you can just go to Selector Hub or any other plugin. You can just verify the CSS is able to identifying the element or not. So this is basically ID. So whenever you want to use ID in the CSS, you can simply say hash then ID. So this will able to identify the drop down. Now let's go back and then get that element cy.get, and this is our element. And once you get an element, we can directly select the value from this, because this is a drop down, so we don't need to use any select or some other methods or classes. So we can directly get the option or get the element from this drop down. So cy.get, and this is the drop down dot. There is direct method available that is called select. Okay, so select, and whichever value you want to select, you can directly specify in single or double quotations. So I want to select one option from this drop down. So let us say how different countries are available. Now I just want to select some country. Let us say Italy, I want to select. So simply you can say Italy. Okay, this will able to select the value. So once it is selected, now I want to verify whether it is selected exact value or not. So then we can write a few chaining commands. So we can also write the same command in the next line. So this is a continuation of this command. So first we are getting the drop down, then we have selected this item. So once you selected, we need to assert, like we need to check the same value is got selected or not. So for that, I can apply should. I can say dot should, and here we can say one parameter called have dot value, have dot value. And what is the value we're expecting is Italy. So that is the second parameter which we have to specify. So this is a validation. So it is very, very simple and straightforward. If it is a normal select box, we can easily get that option from the drop down. So here we are getting that element, select the option from the drop down, and immediately check the right values got selected from the drop down or not. Simple. Now let us try to execute this and then we will see. So for that, let me save the file first. Then let me open the terminal so that I can launch Cypress application. So I can say nps Cypress open. And once you launch, you will get Cypress application here. Then click on end-to-end testing, Chrome browser, start end-to-end testing in the Chrome. So then you can see Cypress runner window is open. So from here, you can run all the spec files. So let me select this drop down. So click on this drop down. Now it is started execution. So now we can see here, it is launch our application. Now you can see from the drop down, it is got selected Italy. And also my assertion is got passed here. My expected is same and actually is also same. So to have value is Italy, this is got passed. So if it is a normal drop down, so this is how we need to handle this. Simply get that element and select by using select method, we can pass that value or option. And once it is passed, then we can verify that value is correctly selected or not by using should method. Should have dot value, then Italy. So whether it is having same Italy value or not, we can verify. So this is the normal traditional drop down which is having select tag. And sometimes we can see drop downs which is not having any selected tag. And normally we can call them as a Bootstrap drop downs. So how we can handle them? So let me write another script. Let me copy another it block. And I just want to try to skip this one in the next iteration. For that, I can say dot skip. When I say dot skip here, so this block will not be executed in the next round. Okay, it will not be participated in the execution. You can simply skip it. Instead of commenting this, we can simply skip it. Okay, now let us try to do this. So drop down without select class, without select. So for that, I'm taking one more type of application. Let me show you. So this time this select, this drop down doesn't have any select tag. Let me open this. Okay. So this is dummyticket.com, this sample demo application. And if you come down, okay, so here you can see in the billing details section, you can see something called country. Okay. So by default, Japan is selected, and in this we can select whichever country you want. This is another type of drop down. So when you're inspecting this element and you don't see the select tag, okay, you can simply see the span, and this is a class of attribute of that element, and whichever by default the values got selected, which is displayed here. So only when you click on this element, the options will be displayed here at the runtime. Okay. So now we need to select a value or option from this dropdown. And this is basically Bootstrap dropdown without having select class, select tag in the HTML. Now let us see how we can handle this. The first thing is we need to first click on this element. Click on the dropdown element. Once you click on it, you will see one more input box here. Internally, you can see one input box, and these are the list of countries which are displayed. So inside this input box, we need to provide which country we want to select. Suppose I want to select something, let's say India. So if you just type, as soon as you type something here, let's say India I have selected. Now you can see the options are displayed here, right? So as soon as you said India and press enter key, and then automatically the value will be selected. So for example, here I say India, okay, and then when you click on enter, so this will automatically selected India. Let me try to give one more country. I say India, and you can see once we click on enter, this is got selected. And similarly, let me try to use some other country. Let's say I want to select Iran, so I say Iran. So as soon as you type that country, so that populate that country name, and when you press enter key, so that country is got selected. So this is a different type of drop down which doesn't have any select tag. Now we'll see how we can handle this. All right, so let's go to VS Code editor, and we already put the skip command for first state block. Now I'm going to modify the second one. So here we need to launch our application. So let me copy this URL and let me change it here. Okay, now as soon as you open this application URL, so what is the next thing we have to do is we need to first click on the drop down element. So how to click on the drop down element? We need to first inspect that element, and there is a class attribute is available. There is a class attribute is available. So we need to take the class or any other attribute to locate the element. And instead of the class, let me take ID here this time. So there is an ID here. And by using ID also, you can, ID means we can use hash here, right? So hash ID. So this, then it will able to identify the dropdown. Now let me capture this ID and then let's get that element first. Okay, so I can say cy dot get, and this is the element. With ID, we capture that element and immediately do click action. So once you do the click action, then we will get all the options displayed in the dropdown. So this is the first thing. And so once you click on this element, then you will get a small box here. So in this box, we can directly provide the value. So we can directly type the value. So for example, I just want to select Japan. For example, I say Japan. So as soon as you type something, it is automatically populated the value. After providing this value into the input box, we have to just press enter key. Then automatically the value is got selected. So where we have to pass this value in the input box. Here, there is an input box inside the dropdown. So inside this input box, we need to type the value. So we need to identify this input box first. Go to this input box, and here you can see input tag. So what is a selector we can choose here is we can select the class, or if there is an ID, we can get the ID, or else we can directly depends on the class. Okay, so you can just look at here, and there are multiple options are available for this input tag, and you can just look at this. This is the input class select to search underscore field, and type is there, tab index. There are multiple options are available. So even if you go to selector hub, which is giving some input box, it is exactly pointing to the input box. Or else you can just refresh the page once again. All right, so by default Japan is there. So now we need to identify this element like this. This is the right way of identifying this element. Now you can see this is actually a class. This is a class. By using this class, we can identify this element, or we can also take this span. So you can see select to search. Okay, and this is a class. So this is also we can take. So let me take this class for now. Copy this and I say dot class name. So exactly it is able to identify this element. Now let me take this element, go back to your script and say get that element, cy.get. Okay, and then specify this. This is the element. So inside this, we need to pass the value. So you can simply say dot type. Okay, so this is a method. So dot type. So what is the country you want to select? For example, as soon as you selected, I want to select something called Italy. So here I can say Italy, I can select. Okay, so once you type it, then what is the next action we do here? I say Italy. And as soon as you type Italy, you will get the country name. And then immediately we need to press enter key. Okay, we need to press enter key. So how to press enter here is we have a command called again one more type followed by one more type. And here in the singular double quotations, we say command called enter. So first, this is the value which is going to type in this input box. And once it is typed into the input box, then it will automatically press enter key. So that will able to select the value from the drop down. Okay, so let us try this and execute and see how it is going to work. So for that, what we can do, we already open our Cypress app. Let me open this. Right, so this is Cypress app which we are already open. Now you can just save the file and automatically the same test will rerun. Let me save file and then select the script first. Okay, go to the file and then save it. Now we can see it is started executing. So it is started execution. Now you can see here, it should select the value from the dropdown. All right, so now we can see it is got selected Italy from the dropdown. So like this, we can also automate Bootstrap element. Okay, so once it is captured this value into the dropdown, so we can verify whether it is correctly captured the value or not. So it is captured the right value or not. So how we can verify that? So to verify that, actually, from the dropdown, here we are typing something, right? So let's say here we are typing Italy, and then we are pressing enter. So where exactly this value is presenting now inside the dropdown. So if we expand this text box is gone. So now we do not have this text box, but at the time of providing the value, we are using this input box or text box. So once you provided, this value is created at the drop-down list. Okay, now this value is present in the drop-down or not? Is it selected or not? That we need to check. So what we need to do is now the value we provided in the input box, but after clicking on enter, that option or values belongs to the drop down. So now we need to check that particular value is part of this drop down or not, which is selected in this drop down or not. So how we can put this assertion here is we can put the assertion like this. You can simply say again, we will get the same element. So this is the drop down element, same element, and dot should. And here we can't use have dot value. Okay, only with a normal normal drop downs which are having select tag, we will use have dot value. So this will give you accurate option which is got selected in the drop down. But here it is not exactly drop down which is not having selected tag. So basically what we are doing is we are selecting that option through this input box, and finally it seems like an input box. So here we can't use have dot value. So instead of that, we have to use have dot text. That means every web element is having some text. So if you want to verify the text is correct or not, we will use have dot text. So that is the basic difference between have dot value, have dot text. Use a normal dropdown which is having selected tag. So normally we use have dot value. In the first test, we have used like this, have dot value. But here, so we are verifying the text value of this element now. So instead of using have dot value, so we can also put this assertion in the next line. So here we use something called have dot text. Okay, and then what is the value we're expecting here? Whatever value we provided here, the same value we are expecting, so that you can specify. So this is the assertion. Okay, so now let us try to execute and see whether it is captured the right value or not. So simply what we can do is we can open the Cypress app. Now we can just save the file. So once you save it, automatically it will start executing your test in my browser. All right, so now we can see it is trying to select the value from the drop down, and somehow the page is not properly responding. Okay, let me just refresh once again. All right, so now we can see it is got selected Italy, and my assertion is also got passed here. But just look at here, this is my assertion which is also got passed. Okay, so this is how we can test a drop down box which doesn't have select tag, but drop down without having select tag. And now sometimes we can see drop downs which will provide you auto suggestions, and those suggestions are static every time. Okay, so let us see how we can handle auto suggested drop down. So let me just copy this block and let me write another it block, and I will skip the first one now. For now, I say skip. Okay, so drop down, auto suggested drop down, auto suggest drop down. Okay, so now we'll see how we can automate the auto suggest drop down. So for that, I'm going to show you one application URL. Let me open this application. Okay, so now, so here, this is a auto suggest drop down. So whatever you type here, it will give you some suggestions. Okay, for example, here I'm typing something called Delhi. Now you can see it is giving all the messages related to the Delhi. And it is also somehow it is dynamic, but even though it is a dynamic, you will get the same static values here. Whenever you search for this string, same values you are getting every time. So this is auto suggest drop down. So once you search for some string, it will give you some suggestions here. In the suggestions, I can verify like how many auto suggestions are providing here, how many options are providing here. We can count and verify. And from this list, we can also select one of the option. And suppose here I'm selecting something called Delhi University. Once you select it, automatically the new page is got open, and here I can verify this Delhi University is got open or not. Okay, now let us see how we can automate this. So first we need to provide the value, and as soon as you provide the value, you can see all the list of options, and then once you click on it, automatically the values got selected into the drop down box. You can do like this. So once you selected, so the drop down is having a same value which will be selected and displayed here. So this is auto suggest to drop down. So let us try to automate this. Okay, so auto suggest to drop down. So let me open this URL. So this is application URL which I'm going to open. Okay, so once it is open, then first of all, we need to identify this element. This is a search box which we need to identify. So let me just try to inspect this element. And you can see there is an ID is available. So by using this ID, we can get that element. And I'm using this ID as part of CSS. So I can say dot search input, and it is not matching. And let us try some other element. You can just say ID equal to search input, perfectly fine. Okay, because it is an ID, we have to use hash here, not dot. Okay, so this is able to identify this element. So let's use this locator to identify this element. So let me remove all these things. Yeah. So now let us get that element, cy.get, and this is the element I've captured. So once you get an element, now what we need to do is we need to type some value into the input box. So here I'm typing some value. Let's say I'm passing Delhi. So this value will be provided in the input box. So once you provide it into the input box, then what happens? It will provide you some options here. In the search box, it will provide you some options. So now we need to capture all these suggested options. We can also count total number of how many total number of options are displaying here. We can count. And after that, we can select one of the option directly into the input box or search box. Okay, first of all, we can find a total number of options, and we can also select that particular option into the drop down. Okay, so how we can do that? So to do this, we need to write one proper locator which will able to match all these options. Okay, so how we can do it? We can simply inspect one of the option. Okay, so I'm inspecting something called Delhi University, for example. Okay, so I can just look at here. When I inspecting this Delhi University, it is giving these options. These are all the different options. Actually, you can see there are different anchor tags are there. There are different anchor tags are there, and every anchor tag, there is a div tag. Okay, and in the second or first div tag, in the first div tag, here you can see H3 and P. You can see here. So this is Union Territory of India, and if I expand the first H3, here you can see the value. Here you can see the value. So we need to write proper locator which will able to get all these options. Okay, so you can just look at here suggestion underscore title. By using this class, we will able to identify all these options. So let me just suggestion hyphen text, right? So or suggestion hyphen title. So this is the actual H3 which contains a value. So I'm using this class to locate the element. Copy this. And because it is a class, we have to use dot. So this is exactly able to identify 6 elements. Okay. Now let us use this class to get or to capture all the options. So how we can use it? cy.get, specify the class locator, and see here this particular thing will get all the options, auto suggestions, and from those auto suggestions we will able to select one option. Okay, so how we can select the option? So to select one of the options in the auto, because these values are static here. So if you want to select one of the options in this, we can simply use one method called contains. Okay, dot contains. And here we can directly specify the value, whichever you want to select. So here I want to select something called, let's say Delhi University. Okay, Delhi University, I want to select. So then you can pass this value here like this. So now I have opened this URL, and then I identified this input box and provided the value. And this locator is basically get all the auto suggestions, and contains method will check, which is also include the assertion. Actually, contains is also part of assertion. So in this particular list of items, the contains method will check this particular option or text is present or not. If it is a present, what we have to do, we need to just click on it. So this will able to select the value from the drop down. Very simple. So we are getting the input box and pass the value, and it will show you auto suggestions and get all the auto suggestions. And then we are checking this particular suggestion is a part of the list. And if it is a part of the list, if it is contains, then directly go and click on that option. Straightforward. Okay, so this is how we can automate auto suggest drop down. So let us try to execute, and here we don't need to write any looping statement to get each and every option and everything. So the contains method will automatically get all the options and compare this option with the rest of the options. And whichever option is matching with this text, it will go and click on that option and it will able to select it. So first two it blocks I'm skipping. Now let us try to execute this one. So to execute this, let me open the Cypress app. First of all, save this. Save the script, go to file and save, and then open the Cypress window. So here you can see it is trying to execute. So it is automatically executed and it is got passed. Let me try to execute one more time. So refreshing here, run all the test. See here, exactly it is selected Delhi. Let me run one more time. You can see here, it is very faster. We are not able to see. Now we can see It is search box. It is exactly selected Delhi. Let me maximize this page and then execute one more time. That's it. So now it is successfully selected the option from the drop down and we got the Delhi University here. It is also click on that option. So that's the reason we are getting the target page. All right. So this is how we can automate auto suggested drop down. Auto suggested drop down. Now let us look at one more type of drop down, which is more dynamic in nature, because whatever suggestions it is giving, those suggestions are more dynamic. Okay. Now let us see how we can automate dynamic drop down. Let me take one more it block and I'll skip this. For now, I can say skip. Now let us see how we can automate dynamic drop down. So dynamic drop down. So here we will take the help of google.com. So whenever you go to the google.com here, say google.com, and here this is a search box. So whatever you are typing here, it will give you randomly the automated, it will give you random suggestions or options here. So what are those options here is, let's say Cypress automation I'm typing. Now we can see there are so many options are displayed in this list. So this is more dynamic in nature. So in this list, we have to capture all the options, and we can also find total number of options are displayed, how many total number of options are here. And also we can read each and every option and then compare with our expected option. Then we can go and select that option. So in this case, we have to write something called a function. Okay. So a function, through function, we will repeat each and every option and we will able to select the right option. So let us see how we can automate this dynamic auto suggest drop down. So first of all, this is the input box. So first we need to inspect this element. So input is my tag name. And here we need to get this element first. So how to get this element? There is a name available, type is available. So we can capture the, we can take the CSS selector like this. So this is the input box, basically input title equal to search. You can use this, or else you can just put name also, name equal to Q. So you can use name also. I'll say name equal to Q. So this is basically CSS selector. Input is my tag name, name equal to Q is an attribute. So get this element, and now, okay, let me just remove this. So first of all, let us try to launch our application, google.com. And this is our application. And once you launch your application, then let us get this element. So by using this locator, we'll get that element. cy.get, and here specify that element. So here, single quotations we use, right? Single quotation inside the single quotation not allowed. Similarly, double quotations inside the double quotations are not allowed. So keep outside all the double quotations, and inside this, keep the locator, and this will get the element. And once you get an element, we will type something in the input box. So let's say type, and here I'm typing something called Cypress automation. Okay, something I'm typing in the input box. So once you do type it, it will show you all the options. Okay, so if we just go to the here, and here I'm typing, let's say Cypress automation. So once you type something, it will show you all the options. So from these options, we need to first capture all these options, and then we can also count total number of options, how many total number of options are displayed. Okay, so we need to write one common locator, which will able to match with all these options, all the suggested options. Okay, so let us try to inspect the one option, one of these options, Cypress automation. Now if we just look at here, this is the class which is available, WM6W7D. So this is the class which is available, and tag name is div. Inside the div, this is the class, and inside this div, there is a span tag. Inside the span, actual value is present. And let us see, these things are the same for other element. I go to Cypress automation tutorial. Now you can see that div tag is having same class, and inside this span, and here we have a value. So div is a tag name, class is an attribute, span is another tag. This is a child tag of div. So we can write proper CSS and then we will able to capture the text. So how we can write? First, we'll start with the div. So div is having class. So div is my tag dot. What is the class here? So this is the class. Let's capture the value of the class. Div dot class. Okay, div dot class. And inside this class, we have a span tag, and inside the span tag, we have this value. So how we can specify the child element? Simply we can say greater than span. So this is syntax which we follow in the CSS. So if you look at this, exactly this locator is matching with 11 elements. So now it is matching with all the suggested options in the auto suggest dropdown or dynamic dropdown. So let me use this locator to capture all the suggestions. So how to use it? After typing this, we will capture it. I say cy.get, and here this is a locator which will capture all the options. But here, because it is a dynamic in nature, we can't directly use contains or some click. Sometimes it may not work for some elements. And this is a one way we can do it. But if you want to iterate all the options one after another, if you want to check those options, we can also write jQuery function. So this is the alternative way which is available. Okay. So here we use something called each. Okay. If you just go to Cypress documentation, they will tell you how we can use each keyword. I can say Cypress each. And if I just go to Cypress document, they talk about each keyword. Here what they are saying, iterate through an array like structure. And if I just come down to this page, they have given simple example. So how we can do the iteration? So first of all, we need to capture all the options, and we need to read each and every option. So you can use each. Each means it will go to each and every option, and it will basically take 3 parameters. So one is basically called an array, all the elements which are captured stored into the array, and every element in the array is representing with the index. That's the second parameter. And the first parameter is representing the actual element. Okay, so from this array, by using this index, it will get the element into this variable. So that's the meaning of 3 parameters in each keyword. And once you get an element, we are checking that element. Here we can use some text or some method. Whatever you want to capture from that element, we will use some method here. And this element dot some method equal to something. Then we can do some further operation, or we can do click action or some other further actions we can do it. So this is same syntax which we are going to use to repeat or to iterate each and every option in the suggestions. So cy.get will give you all the options. Dot, I'm using each will take 3 parameters. Okay, what are those parameters? Each will take 3 parameters. So what are those parameters? The first parameter is here. First parameter is $element. This is representing element. Second parameter is an index. The third parameter is $array. List is nothing but something is called an array. And now I'm writing one arrow function. So this arrow function we need to implement. So this arrow function we have to implement. Okay. So now inside this block, so this is completely each block from here to here. This is completely one block. So now we are getting the first element, and here internally inside the block, we need to check if the $element, if this element dot text. So we have to capture the text from that element, which is equal to, this is the text we are comparing with. So here I can say Cypress automation. If it is a right, Cypress automation. Okay, we are providing Cypress automation in the search box, but which one we want to select here? So that is the one we need to specify. For example, I want to select Cypress automation tool. This is the text I want to select from the list. So here I can specify my own selected text. Okay, so after that, inside the if block, we can specify. So here $EL is representing the element. So from that element, we need to perform the click action on the element. As soon as this matching is happened, then we need to perform the click action on the element. So if you look at the documentation, they are not directly clicking on the element. So here we are basically wrapping the element into this $EL. This is a representing an element. This is wrapping the element into this variable. So we have to use one method called wrap. CY.wrap $EL. Then only it will capture the element and perform the click action. So here we have wrapped into this element. So we will use wrap method here. Wrap $EL.click. So same thing we are repeating here. So cy.wrap, and here I'll say $EL dot click. So this will basically click on the element. So this is a block. So else we don't need, because we should repeat this multiple times till we complete all the options in the dropdown. So we need to repeat this. So first it will get the all elements into this array. From this array, by using index, it will read one by one into this particular variable. It will wrap the element into the variable. And from that variable, from that element, we are getting the text which is equal to this or not. We are comparing. If it is equal, then get that element and perform the click action. So this is how we can implement. This is basically jQuery function, which we can include. And this is another way we can do it. Suppose if you directly want to select the value, you can also use like this. Get all the elements like this, use contains method and provide the value whichever you want to take or whichever you want to select. Simply say dot click. So this method also works here. And this is just alternative way. Okay, but this is a static auto suggest dropdown because every time you'll get the same values. But here it is more dynamic in nature. You may not get the same values every time. So the same solution works here also. But this is another way of doing it, another way of selecting the option from the dropdown. Okay, so before selecting this, I want to check total how many values are there. So after providing this Cypress automation, how many suggestions are giving, I want to find a total number. So what we can do is take this number of options. This locator is pointing all the options, right? So take this dot, you can add one assertion called should have length. So there is a parameter we have dot length. And what is the length we are expecting? Let's say 11. So currently 11 options are displayed. So this is one assertion. We can capture all the options from the suggestions. And then here we are capturing all the options. Then we are finding total number of options equal to 11. After this validation, then we are reading each and every option into this and comparing that option with the expected option. If both are equal, then go and click that option. Okay, so after clicking that option, what happens now? So here I'm typing, let's say Cypress automation. So now I'm selecting one option. Click on it. After clicking on, what happens? There is the same text which is displayed on the input box, on the same input box. So again, we need to check the same text, whatever we click, the same text is displayed on the input box or not. We need to verify. So what we can do now, we can add one more assertion. After completion of this block here, after completion of this function here, we need to validate the same element. This is the same element. Now this time it should contains, right? Should have dot value. Okay, so have dot value. So what is the value we are expecting in the text box after selecting it? This is the value we are expecting. So the same thing we can specify here. So this is assertion. So what exactly we have done here? We have launching the page. We are searching for some option. Let's say Cypress automation I provided in the input box. Then I got some auto suggestions. Then I'm capture all the options and suggestions and counting total number of options. And by using this function, I'm reading each and every option into this element and comparing the text value of the element into this text. And if both are equal, then I'm directly clicking on that option and it is selected into the input box again. After that, I'm verifying the input box is having the right value is got selected or not. So this is how we can write jQuery function, which will dynamically get the value from the list. Okay. Now let us try to execute this and see. And one more thing. So here, after passing this value, which will take a few seconds of time to get all the suggestions from the server. So here we need to add something called Cypress wait. Okay, let's wait for 3 to 4 seconds is enough. Okay, so after passing this value, which will give you, it will take some time to display all the auto suggestions. So after 3 seconds, we will continue with the rest of the things. Okay, so let's save it and then execute. So rest of the methods are already skipped here one after another. So now I'm going to execute the last it block. All right, so for that, what you can do, go to the file, then save, and you can open the Cypress editor. So you can see this is the execution is happening here. Okay, let me just rerun once again. Now we can see it is exactly provided Cypress automation. Same text which is got provided in the input box. Now you can see the assertion is got failed. Assert expected is something, but have value is what? Cypress automation tool. So do we have any Cypress automation tool in this list? Nothing, right? We don't have, but we have Cypress automation tutorial something, right? So let me just change the value because the selected option, which is not displayed in this list, so that it is not selected. So our assertion is got failed. So instead of doing that, I can say Cypress automation tutorial. Okay. Let me do it manually first. So let me go back here. Just Cypress automation. I'm just typing or Cypress automation. There are multiple. This tool is sometimes may appear, sometimes may not appear. So I'm taking Cypress automation tutorial. Let me capture the text and go back to your VS Code editor and change the value here. So we are providing this one and we need to compare this. This is the one. Cypress automation tutorial. And at the time of verification also, it should be same actually. It should be same. All right. Now let me save it and then execute one more time. Go to the file and save it. Now see the execution. Okay, now I can perfectly fine. So now it is selected Cypress automation tutorial. Now my all assertions are got passed here. Just look at here. This is one assertion, the length. So total how many are displayed? This is one assertion. It got passed. Now there is one more assertion. After selecting the text, we are also verifying the same text is displayed in the input box, search box. That also verified here. This is a second assertion. Okay. So this is how we can automate dynamic drop-downs. And these two drop-downs almost the same. So you can just look at here, this one and this one, both are auto-suggested. But if you compare these two again, this is static in nature because you are getting the same auto-suggestions every time. In those cases, you can prefer this option. And this is also giving the auto-suggestions, but the auto-suggestions are more dynamic in nature. So you can just write another Java jQuery function to get each and every option into this variable and then compare the text value with this and then select it, or you can click on that element. So this will also able to select. Again, the same thing we can also achieve with the single statement in Cypress, or else you can additionally write a jQuery function like this. And after that, you can do the validation. All right. So this is how we can automate different type of drop downs in Cypress. Okay. So in the next video, we will see few more types of web elements. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.